Thank you for listening to Digest This, Unpacking Our Sustainable Future, a Three Rivers Energy Partners podcast. Three Rivers Energy Partners is a renewable energy company that empowers organizations with the ability to create a sustainable future by converting organic waste streams into renewable energy and resources. To get the latest episode of Digest This, or to find out more about Three Rivers Energy Partners, visit threeriversenergy.com or find us on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. The sustainable future is being created right now. Keep exploring and keep up to speed with the latest in renewable energy and sustainability. See you next time. So let's review some recent news from an article by the Park Record about CO2 Sync's partnership with Carbo4 to provide a solution for beetle-kill forests. I think many people don't realize just how devastating the beetle-kill forest issue really is. Millions of acres of forest are just, well, dead. It's shocking. You drive through these areas and it feels like you're seeing destruction on a scale that's hard to comprehend.
It really is a major problem, Alex. According to this article, it is especially devastating in places like the Uinta-Wasatch National Forest, where nearly 90% of trees have been wiped out in some areas. These infestations, whether it's the mountain pine beetle or newer ones like the balsam woolly adelgid, have created what's essentially an environmental hazard. And it's happening faster than forest managers can manage, which means massive amounts of dead wood are piling up.
And all that dead wood is a ticking time bomb, right? It could be dangerous for wildfires, but also just wasteful, considering what could be done with it.
Exactly. A lot of this wood has been treated as, well, trash, either burned in controlled fires or left to accumulate. But that's where companies like CO2 Sync come in. They've turned this problem into an opportunity. This article says they are transforming these waste woods into biochar, which has so many versatile uses.
Yeah, I read up on their Haber City facility. It's a really high-tech operation, right? They partnered with Carbo4 out of Germany for the equipment.
That's correct. The process is fascinating. They heat the wood to very high temperatures, around 800 degrees Celsius, in the absence of oxygen. It's not burning, it's more like cooking the wood to a point where all the volatile gases are removed. What's left is this carbon-rich material, biochar, which, by the way, is over 90% carbon in their process. That's huge, since they are saying conventional methods typically only reach 40 to 60%.
Yeah, and I imagine that's why their biochar is so effective in applications like soil improvement. Those tiny pores hold water, nutrients, even trap toxins.
Yes, and besides agriculture, they're even testing it with golf courses to cut water use by 20%. Can you imagine the impact in drought-prone areas like Utah? It's practical and scalable, which is what makes this technology so promising.
Another area where biochar is proving to be revolutionary is in the production of concrete. It's lighter, it reduces cement content, and it's much more environmentally friendly. When you think about scaling that up, it could really help to mitigate climate impacts, especially in construction.
Totally. I mean, when you look at their Haber City plant, it's like a glimpse into the future.
Right. What's incredible is that from these dead forests that were once a liability, companies like CO2 Sync are creating something that not only reduces waste but actively combats climate change. It's a win-win for sustainability and economics.
Alex, speaking of sustainability, I've been thinking about how innovations like CO2 Sync's handling of waste wood tie into the bigger picture, especially when we address Scope 3 emissions. These are the indirect emissions from across an organization's entire value chain. Think business travel, transportation, distribution, employee commuting, and even customer use of products. And honestly, most companies are, well, falling behind.
That's putting it mildly, Emily. According to a recent press release from the Voluntary Carbon Markets Integrity Initiative, or VCMI, the gap's now 1.4 gigatons of CO2. They are saying that's more emissions than Germany, the UK, and Italy combined, all tied up in corporate Scope 3 emissions. And here's the kicker. It's predicted to grow fivefold by 2030 if we don't get real solutions in place. That's where the VCMI's Scope 3 Action Code of Practice comes in, right?
Exactly. Their framework is designed to help companies address these emissions with integrity. It's not just about setting ambitious goals, it's about taking concrete actions every year, even when they hit barriers. And, well, one key tool they emphasize is the use of high-quality carbon credits.
Wait, carbon credits. So those are like companies paying for emissions reductions elsewhere, right? Feels like a cheat code, kinda?
Not exactly. When done right, and that's the point of the VCMI code, they're a bridge, not an escape route. These credits fund critical projects like forest restoration or renewable energy in regions that really need it, while companies work on reducing emissions directly. It's this dual approach. Both pathways matter.
Okay, I see that. They're filling the gaps while companies figure out how to tackle the root issue. I've got to say, though, I've worked with businesses where it was just not that simple. I mean, you set these ambitious targets, but then you hit logistical walls.
Exactly. Organizations need to implement more sustainable practices, but things like cost and scalability can be just too overwhelming for a lot of them.
Right. And honestly, that's when the wheels usually fall off. It's like you've got all these great intentions, but without a framework or incentives.
Or tools. That's where the action code stands out. It pushes for accountability and transparency. Every company has to disclose the barriers they're facing, the measures they're taking to overcome them, and, critically, how their carbon credits are being used. It adds credibility and, well, trust.
And gives them a deadline too, right? Like, companies need to be back on their decarbonization pathway by 2040.
Exactly. It's ambitious, but it forces action. And honestly, ambition should be the baseline. Our climate challenges demand it.
Totally. It's like we know the scope of the problem, literally scope 3. What we need now is bold leadership, no half measures. Speaking of tackling big challenges, Emily, air travel has always been kind of the elephant in the room when it comes to scope 3 emissions. According to an article by Our World Data, globally it's only like 2.5% of carbon emissions. But within the value chain, it's massive, right? And reducing airline emissions, that's no easy feat.
Exactly, Alex. Unlike ground transport, where electrification is a more viable option, planes are a completely different challenge. Batteries are heavy and not yet efficient enough for long-haul flights. I know we have spoken about this before, but that's where sustainable aviation fuels, or SAF, come into play.
Right, and according to a recent article by the Minnesota Reformer, Minnesota's really jumping into the SAF game, aren't they? They are using camelina. It's a winter crop that grows alongside existing farmland. No need for extra land, which is awesome.
Camelina, yes. The same crop we discussed in last week's episode that Repsol and Bunge announcing they would be using over in the UK. It's a game changer. Not only is it sustainable because it can be planted as a cover crop, but the article states that early research shows it could cut jet fuel emissions by something like 75%. That's huge, Alex. And the environmental benefits of cover crops? Reduced soil erosion, better water retention, it's a win-win.
But, Emily, here's my question. Are these early results scalable? Like, have we gone from this works in theory to this works industry-wide? And what happens if camelina doesn't live up to the hype?
That's the big question, isn't it? Scaling any new technology is always a challenge, and that's why Minnesota is looking at tax credits to incentivize development. Right now, they're aiming to scale camelina crops to 1 million acres by 2035. It's ambitious, but it's the right type of ambition.
Still, though, there's got to be some skepticism. What makes SAF different? The article states that some folks are saying high-speed rail is still a better bet.
That's true, and the high-speed rail argument is valid in regions where it's feasible. But, realistically, planes are indispensable, especially for longer distances. SAF isn't about replacing other transit solutions. It's about improving the emissions profile of something we already rely on heavily.
Okay, but you're saying SAF is the best near-term fix, right? Like bending the curve instead of trying to leap over it?
Exactly. It's a transition tool. Long-term, we may find even better solutions. Who knows? Maybe hydrogen-powered planes or something. But for now, SAF offers an immediate way to cut emissions without disrupting global air travel. And that's critical.
All right, I get that. I just can't help but wonder, should we still be pressing harder on those alternatives like rail or even telecommuting instead of flying? Like, doesn't that get us closer to no emissions?
Sure, but we need a multifaceted approach. There's no silver bullet. SAF fills a specific gap while we continue to push innovation across all fronts. It's not one or the other. It's and both. The key is keeping the momentum going in every area.
I gotta say, this makes me optimistic, you know? From biochar to scope 3 emissions and now SAF, it feels like there's so much ingenuity happening. We just need to keep the pressure on and the innovation coming.
Absolutely, Alex. We can't let up. The scale of the climate crisis demands that we challenge every assumption, explore every avenue, and most importantly, act. Together, these solutions can make a real difference.
And on that note, thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Digest This: Unpacking Our Sustainable Future. It's been a great conversation, Emily.
It really has, Alex, and thank you to our listeners. Stay curious and stay sustainable.
Thank you for listening to Digest This: Unpacking Our Sustainable Future, a Three Rivers Energy Partners podcast. Three Rivers Energy Partners is a renewable energy company that empowers organizations with the ability to create a sustainable future by converting organic waste streams into renewable energy and resources. To get the latest episode of Digest This, or to find out more about Three Rivers Energy Partners, visit threeriversenergy.com or find us on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. The sustainable future is being created right now. Keep exploring and keep up to speed with the latest in renewable energy and sustainability. See you next time.